What's going on, you guys? My name is Mo Awesome from Awesome MTV. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering how to wheelie. Now, wheeling is probably one of the funnest moves out there. I freaking love it. And if you know me, you've probably seen me either doing them when I'm at the trailhead, on rides. It's just one of my favorite moves. Now, as a mountain bike coach, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is how to wheelie. Even though the act of wheeling actually is pretty simple, it's probably one of the most challenging skills to pick up, just because a lot of it actually is patience and practice and really kind of putting that time and effort to learn it. However, the whole wheelie concept is actually pretty simple. So I'm going to go ahead and break down how to wheelie, and hopefully you'll have a couple more tips and tricks to get out there and keep that front wheel in the air. Now, before I break it down step by step and give you guys a couple of tips and tricks, what I want to do is I want to break down the fundamentals of the wheelie and what's actually going on. So the way I like to break it down is there's two things going on. The first is going to be the act of getting your front wheel in the air, and the second is going to be the act of keeping your front wheel in the air. The reason I like to break these down individually is because it definitely makes the whole experience a little bit less overwhelming. You're not having all this information thrown at you at once, and that way you can basically dissect what's going on, where you need to improve, and maybe what's preventing you from wheeling. So now that we kind of know the fundamentals, let's go ahead and break it down for you guys step by step and give you guys a couple of tips and tricks to help you guys wheelie. So step one is going to be find a grass field. The reason you want to find a grass field when you're first starting out is because there is a chance that you are going to be looping out, which means you're going to be going too far back and basically landing on the ground on your back, and it feels so much better to do that in grass than on pavement. And that's going to lead us to step number two, getting familiar with your bike. So basically what I want you guys to do is pedal around a little bit, and I want you guys to pay attention to your pedal strokes. In particular, I want you guys to really pay attention to your dominant foot, which is that foot that normally is in front of you when you're on a downhill and you feel like has the most power to put down when you're pedaling and you're most comfortable with. And I want you guys to pay attention to when that dominant foot is at the top of your pedal stroke. So basically at the top, getting ready to push down, and just kind of really get a gauge when that foot is there and just get a good feeling for it. Now, the reason this is so important is it's going to be a crucial part of the timing of the wheelie, when to push down on your fork and when to pull back, because we're going to be pulling back essentially when we're pedaling down, and that's what's going to help us get that front wheel in the air. Now, the third step is going to be to set up your bike for a successful wheelie. Now, the way you're going to do this is through the seat height and your gearing. As for the seat height, what I tend to see is a lot of riders don't pay attention to it, and normally we'll try and wheelie with that seat all the way up, or that seat will be slammed. With the seat all the way up, your center of gravity is that much higher, and your weight is going to be that much higher and further back when you do pop that wheelie. So even though it's going to be really easy to first get that front wheel up, it's going to be really hard to balance from all the way up there. Now, if you lower that saddle all the way, it's going to be really easy to keep that wheelie in that position. However, getting to that position is going to be that much harder, and especially when you're first starting off, you don't want to make things hard for yourself. So for me personally, I find the sweet spot to be about 2 to 3 inch lower on the saddle height. As for the gearing, I actually like to be from my climbing gear about 1 or 2 gears down, and I feel like that's a very good gear where it's still pretty easy to get that front wheel in the air, but at the same time, when I start to get my wheel in the air and I'm pedaling and I want to keep it in the air, I feel like I can keep up a good pedal stroke. All right, now the fourth step. Now is where it's going to get fun. What I want you guys to do is put your finger on top of your rear brake. For Americans, that's your right side. For all you crazy Canadians and your English people, your rear brake is probably on your left side, but basically just find your rear brake. And the reason I want you guys to put that finger on top of it is because that's going to be very crucial to keeping us from looping out. Now, you still probably will loop out a couple times, especially when you are starting to push the limits, but at the same time, your rear brake is a huge safety thing there. Basically, if you get too high up or you just want to come back down, if you tap that rear brake, that is going to bring you right back down, and that's going to be crucial to the wheelie. A lot of people think that when people are wheeling, they're not really kind of touching anything with their rear brake, but chances are they're modulating it just a tad and they're shifting their body position while they're doing so. So definitely put your finger on top of that rear brake to keep you from looping out. All right, now the fifth step. So we got that saddle's a little bit lowered, we're in the right gear, we have our finger on our rear brake, we know where our dominant foot is. What I want you guys to do is basically start pedaling your bike, and as your dominant foot gets close to being to the top of the pedal stroke, I want you guys to just press down on that fork just a tad, and then as your dominant foot starts to pedal down, I want you guys to pull up and back on the handlebars. The first time you do this, do be careful, because I think you guys are gonna be a little bit shocked at how much power you guys are lifting that bike with as you pedal down with your dominant foot. Because that dominant foot is basically helping with the momentum swing to get that front wheel in the air. So like I said, your dominant foot starts to pedal down is normally when you're starting to pull back. Now, one last tip for getting that front wheel in the air, something that I also find helps is I actually like to sit a little bit further back on my saddle for wheelies. I feel like that just helps me get that rear wheel in the air a little bit easier. That's not a necessity for the wheelie, but just kind of do notice that if you do scoot back just a tad, it might make getting that front wheel up just a little bit easier as well. All right, now if you've made it to this step, congratulations, pat yourself on the back. You're able to get that front wheel in the air. What I want you guys to do now is to just keep practicing that and repeat it so that you feel a little bit more comfortable getting that front wheel up, and you kind of get the whole timing thing dialed to when you're pedaling down and pulling up at the same time. Now, the next step is gonna be keeping that front wheel in the air. So this step is a lot of rear brake and shifting your body weight positioning. So as you get that front wheel in the air, chances are you're going to that balance point. And if you really are popping that front wheel up high and you're pedaling as you're doing it, chances are you're gonna go past that sweet point as well. So what I want you guys to do here is to tap that rear brake slightly. Your front wheel is gonna start to come back down. As you modulate that brake, I want you guys to shift that body weight back just a tad. And what that's doing is it's basically counterbalancing what's happening with that rear brake. So instead of going straight back down with that front wheel, what's gonna happen as you shift your body weight back when you're touching your rear brake is you're basically canceling that out and keeping yourself in that sweet spot. And so what's gonna end up here is as you start to go further and further in your wheelies, you're gonna be modulating that rear brake and shifting that body weight back when you feel that front wheel start to go down. And if you feel that front wheel starting to go down, you're just, like I said, you're shifting that body weight back, you're letting off the rear brake, and then if you get too far, you're slightly on that rear brake. But as you're doing that, you're also shifting your body weight back just a tad. So it's a balancing game here. Now, this is gonna lead way to the most important step yet, and that's gonna be practice, because this whole shifting of the body weight depending on where that front wheel is definitely takes a little bit of time to get used to. But at the same time, the cool thing with the wheelie is it's not a move that you have to be on a mountain bike trail to do. You could do it in your parking lot, you could do it in a park, you could basically do it wherever you want. So really do practice this. Just get out there whenever you get some free time and just work on getting that front wheel in the air and then shifting that body weight to keep that front wheel in the air as you're modulating that rear brake. But the most important thing too is basically have fun with it, because as soon as you get the wheelie, it's going to be the most rewarding feeling out there. And major props to you guys for going after this one, just because wheelies are something that are a little bit intimidating to some riders. However, you guys are going after it, you're practicing it, and be sure to tag me on any videos you guys get of yourselves wheeling or practicing wheeling, and I'll give you guys some advice if you guys need it or if you guys have any questions. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful for a couple of riders out there. If it has, definitely hit that like button, and be sure to let me know if you guys have any questions that I didn't answer in this video, and I'll try to make a couple more tutorials coming up soon. But thank you guys so much for the support, and until next time, you guys, ride awesome. Yoo!